You're always the guy in the group who's busy arranging things and making sure everybody else is okay, and often you give short answers. You don't talk about yourself that much, do you?
Not really. I like to be in the background, and the reason why is that in the background, even when I was performing, I'm still performing, I like to make sure that whoever is up front is well supported.
From jam sessions in Nanakuli backyards to Carnegie Hall, he composed, arranged, and performed the music that the Makaha Sons shared with the world. Meet Moon Kauakahi next on Long Story Short.
One-on-one, engaging conversations with some of Hawaii's most intriguing people. Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Leslie Wilcox. He was not the best known member of the iconic Hawaiian music group which gave the world the soulful voice of Israel Kamakawiwoʻole, but he was the backbone. Business manager, music arranger, and six-string guitarist of the Mākaha Sons of Niʻihau. And he always kept his day job, his other career. His full name is Louis Robert Kauakahi, but almost everyone calls him Moon, which goes back to his fascination with the work of the late Hawaiʻi musician Peter Moon. Moon Kauakahi was an original member of the Makaha Sons of Niʻihau, which formed in 1976. After Israel Kamakawiwoʻole left the group 17 years later to become a solo artist, Moon stayed on with the reconfigured group, the Makaha Sons, until he retired from it in 2014. Kauakahi was born and raised in Nanakuli, Oahu, to parents who came from opposite ends of the island chain. His father's side of the family brought musical talents.
Both my grandfather and my father were musicians on the island of Kauai, and my father moved here in the 30s, so on and so forth, and he never really pursued a professional career, so to speak. They used to just hang out at one of my granduncle's house on the weekends, and they'd all get together, my granduncle, my father, sometimes my grandfather, and some other musicians. Willie K's father, Uncle Manu, used to come on the weekends, way down in Nanakuli, and also be a part of this huge jam session. But that's where my music background, probably, upbringing.
Were they doing Hawaiian music?
Hawaiian music. That's all they knew. And they would have the instruments all over. They would jump on any other instrument and just play something and sing something in Hawaiian. I remember Kumanu one time, we had a concert in Lani Kuhonua, and he was there, and then we were there to perform, and he didn't know who I was per se, but he knew the group. So he looked at me and said, "Which one of you is Kauakahi?" I said, "That's me." Then he mentioned my father's Hawaiian name. He said, "Who's Olioli to you?" I said, "That's my father." And he was, yeah, your father taught me how to play mandolin. And I went, "Great, you didn't teach me, but wonderful." I picked up the ukulele one day. I was 5 years old, and I don't know how I knew 3 chords, C, F, G7. I don't know how I knew it, but I'll pick up my grandma's ukulele and I'll start strumming. The first song I ever knew was a song called Cotton Fields. It was only used 3 keys, C, F, G7. And I started strumming. And how I learned how to play that, I don't know, even up until today. I said, maybe I may have been watching my father perform, but I was only 5. And I said, it had to be 4 or 3, but I wouldn't, well, I take that back. I can remember events even when I was 3 years old. I remember my first spanking, definitely, 3 years old. How I got to know how to play ukulele, I don't know. I just picked up my grandma and started strumming one day. I could picture in my mind how to hold a key. And I held a C. I said, okay, that works. Because I think I watched other musicians, my father did. And to me, I said, okay, if you put your fingers here and it makes a certain sound. And so I just held the key, the C, the F, G7, and I started singing. And every time I'd go visit my grandma, I'll play that one song. I asked her, "Can I borrow your ukulele, Grandma?" I said, "Yeah." I'll play that song 2 or 3 times, put the ukulele back in the room, and that's it, every time.
Did you ever learn to read music?
Yeah.
When did you learn that?
In the 6th grade. From 7th grade, 6th grade to all the way, till after I graduated. throughout high school.
Which is why you're the arranger.
Yeah. And speaking of arrangements, my first arrangement didn't come across very well with my music teacher, but I did it anyway. He was my music teacher, band teacher, music theory teacher from elementary to high school. And he created a group at Nanakuli Elementary School called Nanakuli Boys Choir. We had a lot and one thing I noticed back then, we had a lot of good singers. They just loved to sing and loved to do whatever. So he created the Nanakuli Boys Choir, and I was a member, Jerome, Koka, and we're all Danny Couch, James, Jimmy, that we knew him as. We never knew him as Danny. We called him Jimmy or James. He was part of the choir, and his brothers. He had numerous brothers, and we were all part of this choir. I think the choir consisted of well over 100, somewhat. And then he would be our teacher. And then one day he was teaching this one song. It's a Hawaiian song. It was called the Hawaiian Waiting Song, not the Elvis Presley one, the original Hawaiian. Le aloha, le makamai. And he was teaching us that song. So he taught one part to half of the group there, and another, and he was getting ready to teach the other part. And while he was doing that, and I'm listening, okay, this part, I turned to some of my, some of my classmates, or some of the people in the other boys. I said, I hear a third part. And they go, a third part? They said, yeah, I hear a third part. He said, there are only two parts in this song. I hear a third part. And I said, okay. So I pulled some guys together, and I said, this is where the third part come in. Listen, and I gave them a note. I just hummed on and said, this note, and we do it this way. So we do it this way. So we started doing it. When he started, going back and forth, I said, listen to it. So I started going, and I said, I'll give the pitch, don't worry. When it comes to this part, I'll give everybody the pitch, and you just join in. Said, okay, great. So the music teacher is teaching this, and then finishing. Okay, let's put it together. So, okay, so he starts to play. We start off in unison. We break out in a two-part harmony. Surprise! There's a third part in there. So he's doing it. He goes, stop. Where's this third part coming in from? And he goes, it sounds good, but it doesn't belong there. I looked at, oh well, we tried. My first arrangement. Years later, I recorded that arrangement. just in memory of, but I added a fourth part this time to that song. But it was interesting, and I never really thought it as it being an arrangement or it being the start of something that I would later do as a musician and arranger. But that time comes to mind when they ask you, when was your first arrangement? I went, 6th grade.
So when you decided to pick a career, you went into basic training.
Yep.
Army.
March of 1973, I enlisted, and I was still in high school. There was only one recruiter that ever braved the drive out to the leeward side, because they were a two-lane highway. And out of all the services, only the National Guard came to our high school, and I'm thinking, I wonder why. I said, maybe they're not familiar, or they just didn't dare. So, and he was a Hawaiian guy, Hawaiian person who I ended up working with in the latter part of my career in the military. And he came and enlisted almost my whole class, all guys and even the girls, some of my classmates, into the National Guard. A lot of them were stationed in Schofield. Myself, Jerome Koka, and another graduate from my class went to Diamond Head, and we ended up in field artillery. And I went, okay, where's the rest of our classmates? So we met the next day, went to school, and said, where were you folks? He said, where were you folks? He said, we're in Schofield. What are you doing in Schofield? We're in Diamond Head. What are you doing in Diamond Head? I don't know.
They chose roles for you?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, and we, went into the National Guard. After we graduated, July 6, I think, 1973, off to basic training on Pan American Airlines.
And you intended to make the military your career, and you did. How long did you work at the Department of Defense?
I enlisted in 73. I stayed 6 years to fulfill my contract. but only as a weekend, person who go on a weekend and 2 weeks annual training. Then I got out for a year and a half until one of my former supervisors, bosses, asked me to come back because they had a full-time position that he felt I would be perfect for. So I said, okay. So I went back in October 1980, October 3rd, I believe, re-enlisted, went for the interview, and December 1st, 1980, I started active duty with the National Guard. And that went till September of 2002 when I retired. So all that years stayed with me. And that background I'll talk to you because I was very strong with administration. And it started from high school. And I would be working in the administration office, and I picked up a lot of things, and I liked
Which administration office in high school?
In my school administration. After school, I would work in the administration office. After, for about an hour and a half, then my father picked me up and would take me up to Makaha Inn, way back when it was Makaha Inn, and I would work from 4:30 to midnight.
Doing what?
Bellhop.
So you've always worked.
I've always worked. Even in the summer, I'd work.
While pursuing his career in the National Guard, Louis Moon Kauakahi continued to play music. Although he was serious about Hawaiian music, he hadn't thought of it as a profession until he met Skippy and Israel, as well as their sister, Lydia Kamakawiwoʻole, whom Moon married. The music group went through several configurations, especially with Skippy's death, before settling into the foursome that became the Mākaha Sons of Niʻihau, which included Moon, Brother Iz, and the brothers Jerome and John Koka. No doubt about it. Peter Moon and the Casimeros with him, they just turned everybody on their head with the sound.
Exactly. I think when they came out, and there was a year 76 or 77 when they had more Hawaiian albums come out that one year. I think they had about 80. And I went, wow. But that was it. The Hawaiian music boom just came from nowhere.
And you were going to join that boom very shortly.
We were a part of it.
So how did that happen? First of all, did marriage come after the music group? What was the order with your wife Lydia?
Yeah, we started rehearsing more and more, and then that's how I met my wife Lydia. When we were rehearsing Skippy, Israel, we had a bigger group then. We had Skippy, Israel, we had Melvin, Amina, Jerome Coco. And later on we brought in Sonny Lim, and then we had some other musicians. We just sit around and just play under the banyan tree. Then when we started recording, we recorded with 5.
Who were?
Skippy Kamakawiwoʻole, Israel Kamakawiwoʻole, everybody knows him as Brother Iz, myself, Jerome Coco, Sam Gray. We recorded the first 2 albums. The second album was with Sonny Lim, who was on steel guitar. The third album, we picked up Melvin Amina and Abraham Nahulu on bass and Melvin on 12-string guitar. So we still had 5 members. And then the fourth album, we were the 4 of us, Skippy, Israel, Mel, and myself, for a while, for a long time. And then Skippy passed away, then Mel formed his own group, and so it was myself, Israel, and that's when John and Jerome came in.
You settled into the role of business manager, I think, right?
Skippy was, back then, he was the spokesperson. Israel, I know Israel just wanted to jump in there and take that role, but we respected Skippy, and he was the leader.
Was he the older?
He was the oldest, yeah. And Israel was the clown. Myself, I was the arranger. Yeah, basically back then. And Jerome, he was on 12-string, and then ukulele. And then as the group got smaller, so we each had a role. And my role basically stayed the same, as arranger, composer.
So Skippy was, as long as he was there, he was the front person.
Yeah.
And then how did the roles evolve after he passed away?
After he passed away, then I took over the leadership of the group. We were just about to open up again for a 5-week performance at the ranch house over in Aina, no longer there.
I remember that well.
So we're in a radio or not, here we come. The contract said 5 weeks, we got to start.
Did you practice?
Not then. I said, how do we do this? I said, we follow Israel's lead. You know, and that for that night, we just did, you know, basic songs everybody knew. So, well, because we didn't quite get the sound what we wanted, so we stayed there for 5 weeks. After that, we disappeared, and they said, "Oh, we want to sign you folks up for another 5 weeks." I said, "That's not going to happen." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Because we need to put together a sound." So we got out of the public's eye for about a year, and that's all we did. We rehearsed and practiced and rehearsed every chance we had. We came back about a year later. Well, in the meantime, the entertainment director for the rentals kept calling me periodically. "Are you folks ready to come?" I said, "No, we're not ready." Because we had a rotating schedule between us, Peter Moon Band, and Olomana. Each one had five weeks. And they kept calling, "Are you folks ready?" "Not yet." "Are you folks ready?" "Not yet." And finally the day came and said, "Are you ready?" I said, "I think we're ready." So we went back on the scene and went, "Oh my gosh." The sound was tight, was together, and the song and everything else. And I said, "Oh my gosh, are you folks ever ready?" And I said, "Yeah, it took us a year to put together." And we just went from there.
The Makaha Sons of Niʻihau music group took off, figuratively and literally, performing around the world and producing numerous CDs. And yet there were personal struggles behind the scenes, and there was great sadness with each untimely death of members of the Kamakawiwoʻole family, and later John Koka.
I think nowadays, when younger people look at the Makaha Sons and what was accomplished, I think they see this extremely successful, together group, and probably don't know that you guys really faced a lot of hardships. And I mean, there was poverty, there was drug abuse, transportation issues. I recall being at City Hall once where you guys were playing, and I believe Iz was lifted on stage by a cherry picker.
Yeah, a lot of times in that's why he rarely went on performances outer island or, you know, farther.
Because same thing, right? Going up the steps, he had to be lifted up.
Yeah. He was, when it came to parts music, he was the easiest person for me to work with because he could remember parts and he was always on key. He could come up with something at the spur of the moment. He was a comedian's nightmare. Trust me.
What do you mean?
If Frank DeLima's on stage and if Israel walks in, Frank freezes because he knows that as long as Frank would do his own show and, you know, with an audience, he'd be fine. If he even as much as turns to Israel and says something, the battle is on.
He will heckle him back.
He was quick. Israel was quick. And that's what Frank was nervous about because his comeback would be so quick. And he wouldn't know sometimes. So on his breaks, he'd come and say, "Please, Israel, please don't do this." And I said, "You started it." Frank DeLima, even Melvin, when he and Melvin would get into this, oh, it'd be hilarious. It would be so much fun. I said, "Is somebody taping this?"
You know, all this time, you're working full time.
Yes.
John and Jerome, were they working full time?
John was working full time as well. Well, both of them.
So these are pretty much 8 to 5 jobs, right? And music. Skippy and when he was alive, and then they did not do that.
They were more music, so they relied more on what the performances we had.
So that was a harder way to make a living then.
Exactly.
Because they only relied on that?
Yeah. So most of the times we had to try and find something, you know, some place to play or some performance.
It was very transparent about drug abuse and how he finally stopped it, but it was a part of his life and it affected the group too.
Well, actually, back then it was not looked upon, but it was more or less, if you're playing music, then you had to be doing something like that.
I see.
If you're a musician, like I said, well, you didn't have to do something like that. I tried it one time, I got sick, threw up and everything else, I said, never again. And I went, that's not for me. And I went, bleh. Even to that, I can smell the thing, and I'm looking around. Is somebody has a chicken coop around here? That's what it smells like. And I just never went back. I said, yuck.
But you all had to be kind of forgiving of each other in the sense that there were limitations. I mean, drug abuse and illness, and I mean, then in between soaring music. I mean, it was so much give and take there.
It's not something that we looked forward to, but we somehow had to prepare for in the back of our minds, especially when we had the four. The four with the first quartet was with Skippy, Israel, myself, and Mel. And if one or the other, if Skippy would get sick, we could handle it. If Israel gets sick, we said, well, we've got to find out who's going to be doing the talking. So on and so forth. And then when we had myself, Israel, John, and Jerry, when the four of us were together, it was great. Now, if Israel was gone, then we had to prepare for it. So now we are a trio again. And then just before we go on stage, okay, you do all these parts and everything else, and I already knew who was strong in what part. So you just do your part, and I'll fill in the pukas. Then now, the situation was, okay, who's going to do the narration? Who's going to be talking about this? So evidently, Jerome decided to do that. I said, great. If you do that, we can cover with the music. But it's not something we really looked forward to, but we had to prepare for.
And of course, there were deaths.
Yeah, numerous deaths. And it started, with my father-in-law passed away, and then immediately after, about a year after, Skippy passed away. Then after Skippy, and then my mother-in-law passed away. And then my sister-in-law passed away. She was the baby of the family. Then she passed away. And then my wife. So I lost the whole family. So it was tragic, but.
Any advice on how to get through something like that?
How do you explain something where, how do you get beyond the hurt? How do you get around it? And each person is very unique in that sense,
But you were used to doing something. Did you keep doing something, or did you take time to decompress?
I couldn't decompress, but then it all come back. Yeah, so I had to, and in my doing numerous things, I managed to decompress. Yeah.
And now you're remarried?
Yes.
So much has changed. I mean, now you live in Ewa Beach.
Yes.
You hold down you've always held down a full-time job, but now you're not rushing off to do music every night.
Yeah, I retired twice. But I work hard now, even after 2 retirements. My gosh, I'm thinking. And a lot of times, friends would ask me, "Can you perform with us?" I say, "Sure." "Can you do it like every week?" I would. Then I wouldn't be in retirement now, would I?
And what was it like when you left the Makaha Sons? Because there came a time when you said, "Hey guys, I'm Pau," and so the group had to regroup again.
It was one of the hardest decisions for me because I was with the group from before it started. Of course, I was really overwhelmed with so many things going on, and there wasn't. There were times where something would occur right at the spur of the moment, and I had to fly off somewhere. Then I had to tell my boss, I gotta fly off. I just started here. This is where I'm on 6-month probation. Yeah, they can give me the boot anytime. But they were understanding, and then so I said I can't be doing this. So that's why I said I gotta retire. So I got to leave the group. I didn't say I'm going to quit the group. I just said I'm retiring from being a full-time musician, which I did. And then, I told him, I said, I don't want to leave, but I need to. I have to.
That was a long time in the business, very long time.
My plan wasn't to become a professional musician. It was never. I just wanted to play music, and I wanted to sound I wanted to create a sound that would be approved, not enjoyed, approved by those who were already performing it live, the legends, that they would approve of what we're doing.
You weren't looking to outshine, you were looking to
find approval. Am I doing the right thing? Is it enjoyable? Will what we're doing, will we be able to please the majority? Most likely, most of the time we wanted to try and please the older ones, because if we can get past the older ones, we didn't care what the young ones said.
The Makaha Sons won numerous Nahu Kuhanohano Awards for their many CDs, including Lifetime Achievement, and were also inducted into the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. We close with a performance of the Makaha Sons recorded in 2004 for PBS Hawaii's program Namele, Traditions in Hawaiian Song. Mahalo to Louis Robert Moon Kauakahi of Eva Beach for sharing your story and your music with us. And mahalo to you for joining us. For PBS Hawaii and Long Story Short, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Aloha nui.
All across the sand, all across the sand, all across the sand down by the sea. All across the sand down by the sea, tourists waiting in the water, walking past their knees. Bathing mules, soaking sun till the skin turns red at sight. The sea is riding by on the bridge of moped, going round and round in Waikiki. Off Montserrat around Diamond Head, bright and early, all the surfers are out of bed. On the beach with the boards, oh, who can tell? All we know they're in the water waiting for that swell, going round and around in Waikiki. The old bandstand down by the park and the Waikiki shouting through landmark. Boy, cool show invites one and all, singing old songs like a Hawaiʻi call, going round and round in Waikiki. Tahuala, tahuahua hila, uehuhene, ehuhene la ibiriko uluala, uehuhene, ehuhene la, ehuhene la, ehuhene la, ehuhene la, ehuhene la ibiriko uluala. The Hawaiians never let a bit of worry them, they never worry, and never surely never let a bit of hurry them, they never hurry. Take it easy, easy, easy. They never worry, they never hurry. And you'll find it's better if you take it easy.
For audio and written transcripts of all episodes of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, visit pbshawaii.org. To download free podcasts of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, go to the Apple iTunes Store or visit pbshawaii.org.